Hello, NG Houston. So I'm super excited about tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun. Okay. So we have the creators of Stackblitz here. And I, as soon as I saw Stackblitz, I was like super excited because it's so nice and it has this amazing interface and it's so fast. So if you haven't seen, I'm sure you've seen Stackblitz, but if you haven't seen Stackblitz, go check it out because it's amazing. But then I met the guys who made Stackblitz and they were so cool. Like I loved Stackblitz already, right? But then I met them and they're super fun. So I said, you have to come on NG Houston. So we're going to talk to them here in just a second. But first, let's introduce the panel. So we have Juan. Juan, you want to say hello and introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. I'm super happy to be here. I'm Juan, organizer of Angular Medellin and NG Colombia.
And Juan is also super cool. I met Juan at NG Conf and we had a lot of fun. And your meetup just like went overnight, like grew like crazy. So now you have a lot of people.
Yeah, I was lucky, I guess. But yes.
That's awesome. Okay, and we have Bill Odom. Bill, you want to say hi? And this is not your first time on the panel.
I was sort of tangentially on the panel with Paul when Paul did a presentation. So I was in the background, longing to be on the panel.
We're really glad to have you on the panel, and you just need to come on the panel more often because you're awesome.
Thanks.
And speaking of awesome, we have Eric and Albert, and you guys are definitely awesome.
Thanks for the kind words, Bonnie. You're really boosting Pi's ego. You know, it's so getting huge.
So before we even get into anything technical, you guys are like, I've been watching you on Twitter, and I'm just amazed at because I think you guys are pretty much loved everywhere you go. Because Stackblitz is awesome, and then like I said, people meet you, and you guys are a lot of fun. So you went to Tesla this week.
Yeah, yesterday. We met one of the folks on Tesla's software engineering team like about a month ago at Google's Angular meetup down in Mountain View. And he came to see the Stackblitz presentation. He was like, wow, it was like awesome, the stuff you're doing. It would be cool if you guys came and talked to Tesla, to the various software engineering teams they have there. And we're like, heck yeah, like we've never been to Tesla, and that's like a dream come true. So yeah, we got to go there yesterday, and that place is sweet. That'd be an excellent place to work, I think.
Absolutely. It's just the cool factor. Like if I was ever invited to go to Tesla, I would like I would like call my parents, stop strangers on the street and be like, I'm going to Tesla. Yeah. Tesla. I would just be so nerding out over that so much because I think what I like about it is that the brand is so synonymous with innovation. And I think that to me is like why I'm like, that's just so many cool points. That's so cool.
Yeah, for sure. I think, it's definitely, I mean, Tesla and SpaceX, to me at least, represent really great engineering, And so that I think personally, that was like, yeah, this is a place that really values engineering-driven innovation, and because it's rare. Like there's not a lot of companies that are consumer-facing, at least, that typically that's their core innovative focus. So yeah, that was super cool.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh yeah, that's so cool. So and I mean that's the thing with this innovation, like you find people. And this is really what I like about Stackblitz. Without even meeting you guys, like you find people who care so much about what they're building that it just like Stackblitz. I mean, you guys know this, but it's like the interface is so clean and it's so easy and intuitive and fast. Like the fact that it just came out and it was released and it was already so beautiful means that you guys like cared about this so much before anybody even saw it. So, yeah. And I think that's the thing with Tesla is that you have these it used to be people like really, there was a brand, and now you find so much stuff that's just like, oh, this is good enough. And then you find people like that, like the first iPhone, right? That was just like, this has to be perfect. And it's cool. It warms my heart to see something like that. It's like, it's artistic, and you mix technology with art and it's beautiful.
Well, thanks. Yeah. I mean, it's delightful to hear that people like kind of see that, because it takes a lot of work to polish all the sharp edges off of a product, especially where it's covering like that much kind of surface area technically. But yeah, it's mostly just a matter of just perseverance, I think. And I don't know.
Persistence and a labor of love.
Yeah, pretty much.
By
But
way of spreading our love.
but like this is a tool we wanted to use, so it's like, you know what, like we don't want to use some janky thing, you know, like
Yeah.
I know I'm gonna hate this thing. Yeah, pretty much. So like this is a tool we wanted to use. So.
Somebody needs to mute. Bill, is that you? Can you mute your browser?
I fixed it.
Thank you.
I was feeling ignored, so I decided to really disrupt things at the moment.
Juan asked me, this is the first time Juan's been on the panel, and he asked me, what do I do on the panel? And I said, interrupt the speaker and complain a lot. I was like, no, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. So, okay, so one more thing that I wanted to ask you about, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm really interested because I get a kick out of you. It's about the stand-up comedy. Where did that come from? It's your fault. You tweeted it, Eric.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, you know, if I'm gonna go down in flames, might as well do it with the biggest audience watching, right? So yeah, I've never done stand-up comedy in my life. You know, it's something I've like wanted to like try maybe, and so I told my girlfriend this a couple months back, and it turns out one of her coworkers is actually a stand-up comedian. And he just so happened to do this thing like every month or two where he would find some person who wanted to like try stand-up comedy, and they would put together a show of like 5 actual comedians and then you at the very end of it. So you're closing this actual comedy show, and it's like a sold out venue, right? And so I was like, yeah, for sure. Like, let me know if this ever, you know, pops up where I could like do this. And so they had someone planned to do it this Sunday. But he dropped out like last week, and usually they take like a month to prepare you. So they're like, hey, you have like a week and a half. Would you want to do this? And I was like, I know if I don't say yes right now, I'm probably gonna sit on it too long and say no. So I was like, all right, let's do it. So yeah, so I'm doing my first ever stand-up comedy routine.
That's so fun. Are you terrified?
Yeah, you know, It's almost like I'm just kind of at peace with what's going to happen at this point. I think that's the best way to. It's my best way to approach like a lot of things in life. I think. Yeah, I'm ready to jump into the cold water. I'm sure I'm going to be terrified when I'm actually up there or whatever. But yeah, at this point,
they can't tell. They don't know that.
Yeah, that's the hope. I have to like pull up my acting skills and make it not look like I'm sweating bullets. But. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting one way or the other. So if you're in San Francisco, you should totally come out. I think it's called like Doc's Lab or something like that. Sunday night at like 6 or 7. If you just Google Doc's Lab, they have a calendar or whatever. Yeah, it should be interesting one way or the other.
That's awesome. I still get nervous. I get nervous all the time. You can always tell when I'm nervous because I talk really, really, really fast, and I still get nervous all the time. I just try not to take things too seriously, which helps a lot.
Yeah.
If I never watch NG Houston, I'm cool.
Oh, you have to review last game's tapes. You have to do that.
I know, but I always like obsess over like crazy things. Like there's this like random curl that's going crazy out there, and it just drives me nuts. So I try not to. Or does my voice really sound like that?
Yes, that happened a lot.
Do you want to? I'm hoping that you want to share your screen and show us some cool stuff. But do you want to just like try out a little joke on us first?
Oh gosh. Yeah. I don't know. So first of all, I actually still don't have. So those 5 comedians, they're helping me write the content, and my first meeting with them was last Sunday, and so I came with this like raw. It's actually been a very interesting experience prepping for a stand-up comedy routine with no experience in prepping for a stand-up comedy routine, because I'm like thinking, okay, I have to like think about, okay, if I were to like take this material and go on stage, how would I fail? Like I have to like simulate this my failure on this stuff of something I've never done. And then then I walked in and I was like, all right guys, like here's what I'm thinking are good jokes. I know what it's like to have someone come to be like, I have this amazing app idea, like you have to build it, because they just don't understand all the context behind it, right? And so it's like, I'm sure this is what I'm doing to you, but here we go. And half of it they're like, it's like, no, you don't want to go create, Facebook for cats or something, right? But some of the stuff they're like, okay, there's good stuff here, but we need to rework it. So I actually don't have my script yet because they're going and working on reworking it. And so tomorrow, 48 hours before I have to go on stage, they're meeting up with me and I'm crash coursing. But I have like, I have like stubs of jokes, but not enough where I think perhaps not appropriate enough where I could probably do it on this. So I'd love to do it if I had something PG and actually like funny.
Well, if you get picked for NGConf, which I'm pretty sure that you will, because you guys are amazing, and I know the NGConf guys love Stackblitz. If you get picked for NGConf, throw some jokes in with your technical talk, and they will love you.
Yeah.
Because it's so serious. We love to go there and learn stuff, and any of the conferences we love to learn stuff, but we like to laugh too, and you're funny. So I think that's one of the things that I love about you.
Well, hopefully this Sunday I get the confidence to go on stage and make jokes. You know,
you're gonna be awesome. If Tesla loves you, that should give you confidence to like do anything at that point.
Yeah,
and once you've been to Tesla, like it's all downhill from there. Okay, so Juan, Bill, do you guys have any questions before we get started?
No questions.
Eric, do you want to share your screen and just show us something cool? What are you gonna, and tell us what you're gonna show us? I just said you have to come on. Like I don't even care what you talk about because I get excited of you. Yeah, I know you're gonna.
Yeah, I guess perhaps we can just go over kind of like Stackblitz's base functionality. Some of the stuff that we rolled out like last month that we haven't, like the import from GitHub thing that we did on Angular. Maybe show some of that stuff off, and then we can talk about, you know, anyone who has questions, we can kind of field those and chat about that. And then we might be able to show, well, we can definitely show the current state of like our SDK. Because why not? You know, because
which you guys were working on like right up until this.
Literally, right,
this like hot off the presses.
Yeah, like not even fully complete, but you'll kind of get the idea of where we're going with it. But here, I'll go ahead and flip over to my screen, and I'll get like a browser set up here. Whoa, I'm presenting to everyone. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh no worries. I was like, what happened? Okay. Can everyone see our browser over here?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Cool. Okay, so this is Stackblitz. For those of you that haven't seen this before, it's an online VS Code IDE for Angular, React, Ionic. We have also support for Svelte, and we're going to have support for Vue soon. But our primary framework that we focus on is Angular, because Angular is, I mean, not just like, it's awesome, but the tooling around Angular is top notch. And you'll kind of be able to see why that matters as we dig into this. But anyway, so to start a new project on Stackblitz, you can just do that in one click. And it opens up this environment directly within your browser. Again, it's like the whole VS Code experience here. And you can see our application is over on the right. So it ships out of the box, everything set up with the things you'd expect, like hot reloading. So if I say hello NG Houston, you'll see it automatically updates without me having to hit save or refresh or anything like that. So that's pretty neat. It also comes with the IntelliSense goodness that you get in VS Code. So it's automatically pulling from node modules from Angular. So if I go ahead and go component, I can see the various things that I could use this on. That's not a great example, but if I go in here and I start typing like styles, you'll see that styles is a field that's that can be used on component, right? So the super awesome autocomplete from VS Code, the same exact editing engine is inside of Stackblitz. So I also have like Command P, so I'm hitting Command P now. I can just type in what file I want to go to, so I can go to the app module and just hit enter, and now I'm there. So again, it's the whole VS Code experience in your browser. So of course, you can create new files, so I can just create readme.md, and I can say like hello. Yeah, so the whole experience there. And where this comes in really handy with Angular is, a lot of people use the Angular CLI generators, for scaffolding new components or services, and it really allows you to have a super productive experience when you're building apps. And Stackblitz has the CLI generators built into, specifically the schematics built into it, and the way it works is actually super cool. So let's go ahead and scaffold out a new component called home. All I have to do is just go to any folder, right-click on it, and you'll see here I get a list of various generators that I can run inside of this project. Click on component. I just type home, hit enter, and boom, you see that on the left, we have this home folder that just got scaffolded with this home component with our HTML and CSS file that corresponds with it. And it got added automatically into our app module with an import and then getting declared in the declarations. So just like the CLI generators work locally, works the exact same in Stackblitz. And so I can go ahead and use that home component in my template. So if I go ahead and grab the selector for that, which is app home, and I go back to my app component and I put app home there, you'll see that it says home works, which is the content that's in there. And I can go ahead and just update that and we'll see what happens. Yeah, hot reloads, super cool. This allows you to scaffold entire applications in record time. So let's just go ahead and do another example here. I'm going to go ahead and just create a shared module. Something you need in every application. We'll create an API service. Boom. We'll create our user service. Boom. We'll create another component, for like our profile. Boom. And so, in literally like 10 seconds, we've now got the baseboard of like a real application inside the browser. And so this is where Angular's tooling is top notch, because there's really no other frameworks that we've seen that give you the custom, like this, what they do with schematics. Basically, everyone's kind of on the same page of how you create a component and how you import that into your application and whatever have you, because of that standard style guide and the tooling. So Stackblitz is built primarily for Angular because you can do some awesome stuff like that with it.
Awesome.
Let's see. Are there any questions so far?
Yeah, I have a question. Hey, guys, what was your motivation behind like creating a Stackblitz? Why did you decided to do it the first?
Yeah, for sure. So our day job, so actually I'll just pull up the site. So our day job is we have this site called Thinkster, where you can learn how to build full stack applications. And we started off with Angular in like 2013. We've added, you can see some other stuff since then. And we teach you how to build like real world applications. We actually have a project called Real World that lets you do this. So if I scroll down here, you can see, we'll click over to the GitHub project. And you can think of it as like To Do MVC, but for full stack apps. So you can choose your front end and choose your back end from any of the supported ones here. And you can see how they build this full stack app called Conduit, which is a social blogging site very similar to medium.com. So I can click in here and I can see, this post this person made. These are people just using our public API to test against. So this is like real content here. So there's someone's profile and looking at the articles and has authentication. Like it's a real application. And so Thinkster teaches all of the various frameworks that Real World supports. And so what the biggest problem we had with Thinkster, to tie this back to Stackblitz, is that our students would often get tied up in issues with their local environments that had nothing to do with Angular or React or whatever framework they were using. Like they'd run out of FS watchers or Webpack would break or something like that. And so we were like, okay, well, this is the #1 source of problems. Like, how could we solve this? And so we're thinking, well, all these tools that run locally are written in JavaScript, so maybe we could just like copy and paste them into the browser and like they could work. So it ended up being a lot more difficult than just like copy and pasting. But we figured out how to do it, and we spent like 6 months of our lives like getting the stuff to work completely in your browser.
Really?
Yeah, and so that's what's powering this. Is like we've built a lot of custom technology that lets you do bundling in the browser and a whole bunch of other stuff. Like for example, this is not just like some like frame here. This is actually running a real dev server inside of your browser using a service worker, right? So we created like a dev server inside of a service worker. So hang on, let me actually change my screen share to like show my entire desktop, because you kind of have to appreciate, I think you have to see the whole thing. So if I'll dock this thing inside there, if I can at least. There we go. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and take this URL here, which is the unique URL of my application. I can open it up and send it to anyone. I'm going to copy and paste it over here, and it boots up our application from that dev server. And so if I go ahead back into our app component and I change the name to say something else, like I'll say Albert, like hello Albert, you'll see it actually hot reloads across both of these. And Yeah, no, it's what's cool is that if you kick off your internet, which I can't do because we're on a Google Hangout, but if I were to go and kick off my Wi-Fi, this would actually keep working. I could keep refreshing and keep using this. Stackblitz actually is able to work completely offline because it's all, again, working entirely within your browser, which is pretty cool. And so because of that, you can just use it like you normally would with any other environment. You can do debugging over here. So let's go ahead and just throw like a console.log statement and say hello. So when it updates, you'll see that got piped right over there. Yeah, it's very real environment for you to use for prototyping applications, or if you're like learning Angular, React, it's perfect for that. It's pretty neat. We spent a lot of time making this stuff work.
When did you launch Stackblitz? Last year, I guess?
Yeah, we launched it in August of last year. So it's been online for, I guess, like 4 or 5 months now, something like that.
Alex has a question.
Sure.
But actually, first, hold on, Alex, because I have a question too. And then Alex has a question. Okay, my question is, when you guys first launched this, and like, were you kind of freaking out about how many people jumped on? And like, was there a point when it was like, uh-oh, we have 1 million people using this? And then before you answer that, Alex's question is, how do you deal with package dependencies?
Oh, okay. All right. So the package dependencies thing first.
Okay.
Is that the order I should do it in?
Any way you want.
Okay. All right. Make sure you hold. I'm going to forget the other question.
I will not let you forget.
Okay. Yeah. So the package dependency thing is something we actually announced last month on how we figured out how to do it. So one of the key things for us was we wanted this to be the best way to prototype Angular and React and whatever have you applications. And what that meant is that it had to be a lot faster than your local dev environment. And that's, it's a pretty tall order to be faster. And we want it to be not just like a little bit faster, but we want it to be, like 5 times faster at a lot of key things that usually take just an ungodly amount of time. So specifically, that's the things that take a lot of time. Installing dependencies, that takes forever usually. And the bundling and recompiling process, which usually happens after you install new dependencies. And so we spent a couple of months after we launched doing some R&D and putting on some final tweaks to our dependency manager. We call it Turbo. But it's we actually wrote a Medium post about it. If you Google like Turbo Stackblitz, it'll probably be on Google, one of the top results there. But the TLDR is that it runs 5 times faster or more than NPM and Yarn, and it decimates node modules. We've seen reductions in up to 2 orders of magnitude in the size of the node modules compared to the local counterparts. And of course, it works entirely within your browser, right? It was developed specifically for Stackblitz. So I can show off how fast it actually is at installing dependencies. So I'll flip this back over to my screen, and can you guys see that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
We can.
So
And
let's go.
That's one of the things I love about Stackblitz. It's wicked fast, like wicked fast.
Yeah, and that's intentionally so, because we wanted to, we didn't want to let anything impede your ideas getting into code. Like that's what prototyping is all about, is rapid turnaround cycles. And so, for example, I can go ahead and import. Let's have this. We'll switch this to use like moment. So we'll say like hello, like a few moments ago. We'll take like the time from now. So we'll say import moment from moment. And I'm going to go ahead and say moment dot from now. And so this is actually something that we built called Deep Trace. So it actually will trace out your application as you're typing. It'll see if you have any missing imports or anything like that. And if all the NPM packages that it finds, or all the modules that it finds that are not currently installed, it'll actually prompt you to install them in just 1 click. So I can say, okay, yeah, I want moment. And boom, it'll start installing this thing. And then boom, now that code's now running right there. Yeah. Yeah, want to see it again? Yeah. So I can go ahead and delete it. It'll like re-download. And so we're back to this. Click. A couple seconds later, installs, rebundles, and your application is now live.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Turbo. At least the dependency installation part, that's Turbo.
That's amazing.
It's the fastest. It's our knowledge, it's the fastest npm client on the planet, as far as we can tell. Actually, npm themselves they're actually taking some of the core stuff from Turbo, and they're working on a new package manager that takes a lot of the core tech and ideas and merges it kind of with Bower style sort of installation. So they're trying to tailor npm more for front end projects essentially. So this sort of stuff is actually going to be coming down to local probably sooner rather than later, which is pretty cool.
Is Turbo the first package manager that works in browser, or is there any other?
Yeah, so traditionally there has all the other approaches before what we did with Turbo. People would be running like Browserify or Webpack on a server somewhere. And so you would like make requests and say, hey, I need to use React, React DOM, this thing, that thing. And the server would sit there. It would have to download all the modules on the server using NPM or Yarn. It would have to compile them with Webpack or Browserify or whatever. And then it would emit that bundle so that you could like use it on your page, right? The problem was that it was really slow to do that because, again, NPM and Yarn are just, they're notoriously slow. Webpack Browserify doing a compilation of that many libraries, again, notoriously so. So a lot of the time, those services would take 15 seconds or more and even just fail trying to do that. And it was also very cost prohibitive to scale because in order to scale up your dependency packagers, you had to just add more servers to it. And it was very IO intensive. So that people were able to do it before, but by using a server to compile it and spit it out in a way that the browser could understand. Turbo was the first one that actually just leveraged CDNs and did the computation in browser. So I think it's fair to say like we're the first people that had figured out how to do it completely within the browser, which is important in regards to scalability and speed. Actually, like it sounds crazy, but it's actually faster to do dependency installations inside of the web browser than to do it on a server. So for those reasons, that's why we bit the bullet and said, okay, all right, we're gonna have to figure out how to do this completely within the browser because that's the only way you're gonna be able to have that sort of experience where in 2 seconds installing a library like Moment that's pretty big. If you install that locally, that'll take at least 10 seconds just on the installation, not the compilation. You'll be able to have that installed, rebundled, and hot reloaded live in under like 4 seconds or something. Yeah, it has to be done within the browser.
Well, Alex has another question, and Alex had a pretty good question last time, but that kind of ties into so the fact that it runs in the browser, you don't have problems with, like, if you just had 1 million people using it all at once, which it wouldn't surprise me at all at this point, it's not going to crash a server somewhere in your building.
Yeah, pretty much. Most of our architecture is like all the hard work's being done on the client. Like someone asked us yesterday, he was saying, what do you ask? He was like, how, I imagine you guys have like
millions or like hundreds of thousands of servers in the cloud that are just like burning away.
Yeah,
CPU.
And we're like, we actually do. Like we do. You guys are all bringing them. Like that's your computers are doing all of the hard work. Hundreds of thousands of computers out there that you guys own are doing all the hard work for us.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so that was a big consideration because we again it would cost a lot of money to scale up a server farm to be able to handle something like we're only doing like a couple 100,000 unique visitors a month right now, and the Angular docs are about to flip online, so that's going to probably bump us over 1 million uniques. But even with that, it's none of the services previously that were doing this sort of thing. We're able to get traction, I think, because it was expensive and it was slower. And so now it's cool because a lot of the other ones, a lot of the other playgrounds out there, or whatever have you, are starting to adopt our technology, or at least the methodology of how we did it. So it's cool to see other folks starting to adopt the stuff that we spent 6 months just banging our heads against the wall on.
So
that's
Eric,
awesome.
Where does your code, like I start up a project in Stackblitz and I write the next big application. Where does that code actually live?
You want to talk about how that works?
Yeah, so all that code is being compiled in the browser, but basically our servers hold on to that code, and most of what our servers do is just persistence. Like we just take what gets emitted from the compilers in the browser, and we save that, and then whenever you come back, we just give back what you compiled last time, and then we just boot off of that.
Yeah. So, but Pi is the resident backend expert. So that's
So non-technical, but I think important question. What's the privacy policy look like around that stuff? If I've written the next big cool application, are you guys like monitoring my code for my good ideas and then incorporating?
We don't all of it.
Write that down, you guys.
Exclusive license. No. I think we actually just copied and pasted the one we use for Thinkster. In there, it's like, I think user generated content, like you own the rights to it. We'll probably have to update because like today, all like projects can only be public right now. So I think there's like, once we have private, we're probably gonna have to update it to kind of like, you know, there's gonna be things we have to modify. But yeah, and you own what you're making. And we don't have any interest in owning that stuff, but we have the right to like save whatever you're typing into our site to our database to like spit back out at you, you know.
Do you have any limitations on what people are allowed to build with Stackblitz? And I'm not talking about anything, you know, illegal or obscene or anything like that. I mean, just like, do you have constraints?
Asking for a friend, Bill.
How do you mean? Because I think there's a couple aspects that there's probably like constraints on. But is there something specifically?
Well, I'll tell you specifically what I'm most immediately interested in. First of all, have you ever talked with anybody from Angular Bootcamp or Oasis Digital about what we're doing with Stackblitz?
No, I actually have not.
Well, here I'll give you.
Are you guys using Stackblitz?
Absolutely.
Whoa, that is awesome.
Cool.
We did not know that.
You remember when Amazon made their announcement about, you know, hey, we acquired Cloud9 a long time ago, and now we're totally changing the way Cloud9 works?
Yeah.
All of the Angular Bootcamp stuff was based around the old way that Cloud9 worked. And I'm the guy that came into the office the next day because a friend of mine from Twitch had said, hey, have you seen all that cool stuff that Amazon's now doing with Cloud9? I'm like, tell me more. And as we read through the release, we realized, oh, Lord, they've completely obliterated our ability to use Cloud9 the way that we were using it in class. So there was this mad rush over a period of about 6 hours to totally change over to Stackblitz. So the online curriculum for Angular Bootcamp is based around using Stackblitz now for people that, you know, can't set up a local environment, people who are, you know, online students. They use Stackblitz for their work, and it works fantastically. It is amazing.
That is awesome. I did not know that.
Wow, that's impressive. You're able to flip over the entire curriculum to Stackblitz in that short of a time.
I mean, there have been refinements since then, but yeah, there was literally a class like starting the next day, and there had to be this mad dash to Cloud9 and over to Stackblitz, and of course, write up materials that students could use kind of unattended, because that's the whole point of the online class, is to be able to attend remotely. And yeah, there was a mad dash to switch over to Stackblitz, and it's fantastic. It's really, really excellent. But you also run a training company. Now you have a training company using your tool to do training.
Yeah, yeah.
With that?
Yeah, no, it's especially delightful, I guess, to hear that, right? Because you know, one of our worries was when we created Stackblitz, you know, we wanted. There's like a piece of hair in my mouth. Where did that come from? Yeah. And I'm out of water. That's gross. Okay, so right, when we were first creating Stackblitz, we were worried that, you know, like one of the most obvious use cases for the thing is education, because that was the kind of the impetus of why we started working on this thing. But we wanted, you know, other folks running training companies to be able to use it and not be worried that we were gonna, like, you know, I don't know, like siphon
monetize
it or something. Yeah, exactly, right. Like you would, you know, not be worried about the fact that Thinkster was bagged. So if you go to stackblitz.com, like there's like no reference, like even on the GitHub repo, like nowhere that it has anything to do with Thinkster. And we intentionally did that because we didn't want people to be spooked by the fact that, you know, this trading company was creating this thing. So, and yeah, we intend for it to be its kind of own separate entity because of that. So yeah, it's been awesome to see. There's a couple of companies that were like not pleased to see the thing out there and seeing people using it because they're competitive in a way with Thinkster. But I think now it's like people see that we're not. Yeah, it's not. This isn't a Trojan horse or something. It's the content industry is it's not a zero sum sort of game where it's like, all right, we own it all, like we're the big thing, like maybe Pluralsight. I'd say Pluralsight's probably like that's them, like they're like the monopolistic people. Not that there is anything wrong with it. It's into admins, man. I should really not be crap talking, but they're like a $200 million company, right? Is my point.
Don't worry, we won't tell them.
Yeah, Pluralsight's just like a giant company, probably valued at billions of dollars or whatever. Yeah, and they probably don't even know who we are. And they probably never will.
They do. I'm sure they do. Everybody knows who you are.
No, I do. We'd have to be making like $10 million a year or something for to be on their radar. And we're definitely not doing that. We're not even doing like a tenth of that. Not even. So anyway, it's awesome to hear that it's being used at Angular Bootcamp because we want to make sure that everyone can use the thing.
Yeah, it was a lifesaver. I'll tell you. Yeah, I think that just by coincidence, I was the first person to tell other folks at Angular Bootcamp about Stackblitz because it happened to show up on Reddit or somewhere, and I'm like, this is really cool, and sent out a note to everybody. And then when Amazon pulled the rug after everybody under everybody with Cloud9, it was absolutely a lifesaver. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, actually, some of the stuff in the SDK we're putting out might be useful. I think it's a lot of it's going to be very useful for like documentation or tutorials or courses and that sort of thing, because you essentially can have programmatic access over Stackblitz. So you can have, like, from your website where you're giving the curriculum out, you can programmatically modify the file system, and you'll be able to control a lot of the other stuff as well. We're figuring out the various APIs for like open this file, highlight this line, like, make the browser go, the preview panel go to this route, that sort of stuff. So it's we think it'll be, I think it'll be pretty cool for people that want to have an interactive learning experience of sorts, Yeah,
so that'll be so cool for workshops, like for everybody to use. Just you have like a template and say, go to this link and then follow the instructions. That's so cool.
Yeah, it'll be I think there'll be a lot of, we're gonna have to work a lot on like refining the APIs and seeing how exactly people want to use it. But off the bat, I think there's going to be some cool use cases that you get to control like a VM basically, and like VS Code. Like we're giving you like programmatic access to the FS and to the VS Code instance, to the browser instance, to this thing. So you're like with JavaScript, that's pretty cool. Like you just create this embed with this project and fill it. So we're excited about it. I
think I speak for everyone when I say we love you. Can you show us the SDK? Is it like, I know it's you were just working on it a little while ago.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Let me like pull it up. So it's funny. So I've actually been writing the SDK in Stackblitz. So
we don't blame you.
Yeah, no, it's actually been like a dream to write it using Stackblitz. So let me.
I just used Stackblitz the other day. Somebody was asking me a question on Twitter, and I was trying to kind of explain it to him, and I was like, "Here, just let me send you this," and it was just like so easy.
Nice.
I don't know how we ever live without it.
That's the Stackblitz works on like every browser out there, or do you have any limitations?
Oh no. Yeah, that was Alex's question from earlier. I'm falling down on the job. It's a good thing.
Oh, it works on IE.
Yeah, it works on IE. Yeah, we go
That's
to
amazing.
Links. Yeah, we go to great. Some of the functionality, like the in-browser dev server, if you don't have a service worker, we have our own like polyfill way of kind of giving that same experience. But most of the stuff, like the core experience, works. There's like very nuanced differences that people probably wouldn't notice though. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. So I have never demoed this before, so it's kind of like not exactly sure. Oh, you know what? Actually, yeah, I'm going to change the name of that button from "click this shiz" to something else. Okay, all right.
It is Edmond for the stand-up comedy.
Okay, I'm gonna pull this up. All right, so I know this is NG Houston. The demo that this is pointed at right now is like a React one for whatever reason. But you'll get the idea though of how this works. Oh, actually, I'm going to share. I'll share my entire screen so you kind of see. No. Okay. Cool. All right. So you can see my entire screen here. So this is on the right. This is where I've been writing our SDK. And so you can kind of see the code I've written here. There's a lot to it, but I'll show you the results. So over here, this is the Stackblitz project URL for this project here. And this is an embedded Stackblitz project that we're going to connect into.
It's a different project.
Yeah, it's a different project from what's going on over here. And but this is running this frame. So this, like right here, I'm like drawing my cursor. That is that's the end of an iframe and the start of this document, which is running our SDK. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's going on here is I'm going to go ahead and click this button, which is going to call. Where is that? Oh, it's in the index.html. Oh, this is so ugly. Oh gosh. Okay. All right. This is so ugly. Okay, I'm going to break this code out so you kind of see like what it should look like, because holy cow, that's awful. All right, so we are going to split that promise up. And like I said, sorry, totally didn't even consider that this would be a demo. So I'm like cleaning this.
Don't worry,
up.
we'll edit it out. No big deal. Oh wait, it's live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pull up your font size just slightly.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let me. Okay, so is that better?
Yeah, that helps. Thank you.
Okay, so what this button is going to do is it's going to use our SDK to connect to the Stackblitz instance at this iframe right here. So this is just like, if you go to our index.html, you'll see that we have this iframe here. And it's just, nothing crazy. We just put an iframe on the page. And so back in the code that we're going to be invoking, it's just going to grab that iframe element. It's going to connect to it. And then we're going to get our virtual machine instance back, which we can start running various methods on. So one of the methods you can run on the VM is like applying a diff to the file system. So you can see over here we have this hello.js file, and it says like hello Stackblitz. So the code, I put it on window for convenience. But so this is like, we'll have it say like NG Houston, right? And just hot reloaded over there. Oh, no. Okay, well, okay, saved it. Yes, all right. Wait, no, I didn't. It tainted. Okay, so anyway, so you get the idea. So basically, we're going to be hooking into the VM's file system when we click that button, and we're going to change it to say NG Houston. I'm going to change that here. Computer's trying to just slow down. Too many things. Okay, so this is the last refresh, and then I can click the button. All right, wait for it to boot. And come on, baby. Yeah, all right, so I'm going to open up hello.js. And so again, this is happening outside of like this iframe, right? So this is the SDK. I'm going to click this, and boom.
Whoa,
so you saw,
great.
Yeah, so you can programmatically, that we literally just got that working like 30 minutes. You now have full programmatic access over the file system. So we can even, we can type other stuff in there or whatever, but.
So teacher, for example, someone is like, say Bill is teaching some Angular bootcamp. He kind of could get to the point where he will be able to change the instances of the Stackblitz windows their students are seeing, kind of, right?
Yep. Yeah, totally. And actually, I'll go ahead and pull this up here. Can you guys see the font size okay on this thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just created this temp1 variable, which is a pointer to our VM instance. And so if I'll say temp1 dot, so what the other method that we can do is we can get a snapshot of the file system. I'll just do a console.log of that. And you'll see we just got back all of the files in the FS, and we can access all of them, right? So this is happening, again, in the parent window here using the SDK. To do that other demo again, we can just say apply fsdiff, and then we say we're going to create the, actually I'll just close that off now so I don't forget, create hello.js again, and we'll pass along, I'll just copy and paste this for brevity. And so we'll update to say, what should we have it say?
ng-medicin.
ng-medicin, all right.
How come everybody can pronounce that except me?
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Come on.
We were talking about Narcos earlier. Here, I'll update it again.
Let's go on.
So yeah. So anyway, so that's like the what we have on the SDK so far. I'll flip back to not doing it. But so we've been working on the programmatic access stuff where we open up a message channel like in our IDE VM instance. And what we're working on next, and Pi was actually just putting the finishing touches on his end for this, is the next API we're going to be creating is you can actually pass in like a completely new set of files. So you can just say, okay, I want to create a temp, like a project on the fly. Like you can just add the script to your page to, an index.html and call Stackblitz SDK create project and say, okay, here's the files I want. Index.js is this, Angular CLI JSON is this, yada, yada. And you run that and then it actually spawns a running project and is live, and you can still have access to the VM as well, so you can like do stuff after it's been initialized. But for example, for documentation, instead of having to like go and create Stackblitz examples and then like link to them all the time or whatever, you can just throw this thing on your page and it'll create like a fresh project every single time with the files that you want in it.
Nice.
So that's the other thing we're working on.
Yeah, right, like that'll be hugely useful for the things that we're doing with it. So, is one of your goals to eventually make it possible to do like collaborative editing sessions? That's one of the things that frankly, it was one of the big features for Cloud9, where an instructor could connect to a student's workspace and ride along with them, not just looking at what they were doing, but after they had mistyped that variable name 5 times, hold on, let me type it. And
it was horrible. I did Angular boot camp, and I was sitting there like I don't know what I'm doing wrong, and I was staring at it for the longest time, and finally I was like, John, and he looks at my screen and he's like, oh yeah, you have a typo right there.
Like that is hugely useful and also a big time saver because we want the remote experience to be as close to in-person as possible, but sometimes that means connecting to someone's shared workspace and literally writing some code with them. Is that one of the goals?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we definitely want to do real time. We want to do it well. I think that's the difference with it. Like, yeah, especially for something like this, because there's other like playgrounds that do real time. And Cloud9's not. Cloud9 was like the real deal. But they're like a large company and they threw a lot of money behind it. But on the simpler sites, it's easier to do because you have like one file you're updating, which is a lot easier to stay in sync. The problem with something like Cloud9 or Stackblitz is that you have like an entire file system, and amongst other things that are kind of tied into the real time experience. Especially with us, we're kind of in different like uncharted territory because we do the like hot reloading like on every keystroke. Like right in your browser, whereas with other things, it wouldn't automatically kick that off so fast. So we want to try and preserve the experience of having that instant feedback as you're typing, or as someone else is typing, seeing their changes get hot reloaded in your browser, but without like just completely killing the performance of your computer. But yeah, once we get that stuff sorted out, which hopefully is going to be sometime in Q2, I would say.
Yeah,
that's the hope. Yeah, we're gonna do a really bad bad butt implementation of this.
No, this is fantastic. Please don't interpret any of this as like, why isn't this a feature yet? It's like,
oh no, we welcome it.
It's just we now that we've seen a little taste, we want so much more.
No, yeah.
Speaking of more,
Appreciate it.
sorry, you can just load it from GitHub. I saw that. I saw you and Brocky talking about that on Twitter.
Yes, yeah. So here, I'll go ahead and I'll go back to my main window where I was before. Yeah, so one of the things with the package manager that we created, it's so fast that we can actually just, and this is like I was saying, I was working on this API today to let you just spawn a new project out of thin air, with just one function call on your website, right? That's possible because of how fast the dependency packager can install the packages you need. Because you can supply an arbitrary package JSON, and it'll just boom, suck that thing directly down within less than like 5 seconds typically, right? Like end-to-end booted and ready to rock and roll. So one of the first things we built after that was the ability to import any Angular CLI project directly from GitHub. So I'll go ahead and put my screen on here so you can see it. And so it's actually really cool. You can use this by going to, I'll go to our real world project, the thing I was showing you before, because there's an Angular implementation of it. I'll open that up. And so if I want to run this repo on Stackblitz, you can see it's like a pretty large repo, right, with our Angular CLI stuff in it. If I want to run this, I can just go and change this out to stackblitz.com/GitHub, and then the username, which is Thinkster, and then the repo name. Hit enter, and Stackblitz is now going to go ahead and download that from GitHub. It's importing it, and it's now installing the packages, bundling it, and we'll see how long it takes. Usually it's pretty fast, but my video conferencing here might be sucking up a couple more resources than normal.
Wow.
But now you have
Eric,
this
that is the easiest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, right?
That's amazing.
Very cool.
It's super nice. It stays in sync with your GitHub repo. So if you update it, it'll suck down the changes, and you can do branches and tags and a whole bunch of other stuff just by providing that the URL like normal. And again, it's got all the hot reloading stuff that you want to use on a day-to-day basis. So if we go ahead and change out this from saying conduit to saying NG Houston, like this is our personal blogging site that we're going to use for NG Houston, right? Update right in the browser. Yeah, it's pretty cool to be able to just have this thing pulled directly from GitHub. You don't have to copy and paste files or drag and drop. It's just boom, immediately just sucks it in.
Super quickly.
Yeah,
I can't think of a possible way that you could have made that easier than you did. If I meet you in person, I'm gonna hug you. Don't be freaked out.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it works. And this is like a big project, right? Like this isn't just like hello world. This is you can see there's a lot of stuff going on in here, right? And so it was able to install all of the dependencies and compile all of these files in under 10 seconds or something, and have it like loaded running in the browser. So Stackblitz can handle like real applications. This is like the mother of all demo apps. We really tried to reflect like what does a real world application look like with it.
So what would it take to get my changes in Stackblitz back to some Git repo somewhere?
Yeah, that's another thing we're working on. Either Q1 or Q2. We're probably gonna be tackling that around the same time as real time. But we're going to go for the full Git experience in Stackblitz. So it's not just be commit it back, but it's going to be like opening pull requests, merging pull requests, dealing with merge conflicts. All of the stuff that you have to do locally. We're going to we at least have 90% of that stuff being able to be done directly in Stackblitz. So you could actually feasibly be writing your Angular application primarily in Stackblitz versus local.
Honestly, my biggest concern about everything that you're showing us is not a technical one. It's that you're a huge acquisition target. I need you to finish much of this.
I know, right?
Yeah, so that's the plan, right? So put in a good word with, I don't know, Sergey or Larry.
No,
because then they'll monetize it. My biggest concern is I'm all excited again, and I'm not going to get any sleep tonight. This is what happened when I first saw Stackblitz. I was like, this is so cool. And I get all riled up late at night, and then I can't sleep. It'll be your fault.
Yeah, it's delightful to hear. Yeah, and the import from GitHub thing, that's still kind of the beta feature We're running into various edge cases. So if you run into anything that doesn't work there, definitely let us know. It's gotten to the point where we're gonna publicly announce it because we haven't actually announced the thing yet, just because we didn't want to put something out there that was just gonna break.
You kind of have.
You just did.
I know this is going to sound like a ridiculous question, because who in the world would possibly use something other than GitHub? But could you do something similar for other Git or Mercurial or whatever providers? Like, could you do this against Bitbucket?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we could definitely do something like this for Bitbucket. I think, for us, the biggest challenge is just man hours. And so our goal is just to, we have to focus on the things that like most people are using, not because it's like there's not a technical limitation to use for us to do a Bitbucket integration, but like 99 out of 100 people would vote on GitHub versus Bitbucket. So that's kind of the litmus test. I feel like for a lot of the stuff that we do integrations for, it's just like what do most of the people want, because we're not going to be able to please everyone today. At least,
just maximize our effectiveness of what we can ship.
Yeah, once Google buys us for like a couple million or something, we can probably afford to do a lot of the other stuff.
If you're only asking a couple million, let's talk offline.
We're cheap.
This is really cool.
So there's not a lot of the stuff here is just, it's not actually technical limitations. It's just the amount of hours that would have to go into it versus the other stuff that we're trying to get out the door.
Do you guys have like a Patreon or anything like that?
Not yet, but we're going to, because everyone on Angular Air convinced us of that.
Yeah. How do you? I'm just curious because it's not monetized. Like, how do you do this?
Yeah.
How do you afford to do this?
It's helped us out a lot with Thinkster as a business. Even though we don't do any advertising for Thinkster, it's driven a lot of awareness for our offerings there, and it helps us do our job at Thinkster a lot better, because we can teach our students in just like this much easier fashion where they can like learn the framework first and all that stuff, and then they can go figure out the tooling. And that's been just gigantic for just Thinkster alone. And when we launched Stackblitz, we're like, well, if nothing else, if no one else thinks this thing is cool, then it's going to solve just the biggest problem ever for us. I think we're going to open up Patreon, and we've had companies that have been hitting us up about like putting their logo on the front page, like for sponsoring the development or whatever. We'd love to be able to work on the thing full time. We're getting some other people to come in and help with the Thinkster side of things. So we're going to open up a Patreon and see where that goes. Every donation would seriously help, because we want to just keep grinding on this thing all day long.
It's so useful. It's so helpful for so many people, and it's so beautiful, and it's so fast, and it's so easy to learn. Like, I think people would line up to give you money at this point. You've earned it.
We hope. Yeah, honestly, I remember you specifically were telling us, like, it's not about being generous. Like, this is like, it's about, I know how much work it took to go into this tool, and like, I need you to keep working on it, or something like that. And that was a moment for me. I was like, okay, cool. Like that makes sense. Before it was, it's like, we don't really need to take donations because we have this other business that's, being positively affected by our work. But it'll be super cool, and we'd love to work on it more. So.
Yeah, do what you need to do to make this a strong going concern. People really want this to survive and thrive.
Yeah. We need this. Keep working on it. We'll pay you.
Cool. Yeah. Well, we're happy to keep working on the thing.
That's cool. Well, I think it's. Do you guys have anything else you want to show us, panelists? Do you guys have any more questions?
I don't think so. I think.
One quick detail, you did mention, like some of the API stuff, the SDK stuff that you're opening up. What would it take right now, for example, if I wanted to grab some of those cool schematics that Hans was talking about last week and make them part of my my project, and generate custom components my way using my schematics library or some third-party library? What would it take to do something like that in Stackblitz?
Yeah, we honestly, there's not really a technical limitation for us to run schematics, because we already are, or at least in a different branch. We have right now, we're using an older version of the CLI, but we have a schematics branch that's working. And the problem that we have with it right now is that the way schematics get added into your local workspace, it's kind of unclear the story around that and how it would seamlessly work. Because for us, whenever we go and invest in time into building out a feature, we want to make sure that end to end, it's a really good experience for the people that are going to be using it. Like, it needs to be fast, it needs to be very intuitive, and it needs to like just work, right? And right now, schematics, there's not really, at least there's kind of a couple of questions remaining. We need to talk to the team because they might have solved it by now. But at least at the time of like the NX folks, they have their own schematics that they write. They're super good, but the way they have,
they're really good from given who they're coming from.
No, all of NX is great. Like Jeff and Victor and all the folks that work on NX are awesome. Like for their schematic stuff, it's kind of crazy. They have to like basically link the actual Angular CLI schematics into the NX ones because you can't there can only be one schematics file or definition per like project or something like that. It's kind of funky. And so we before we go and implement on Stackblitz, we just want to make sure that they've kind of figured out a way to make it like very easy to pull in. Like if you install something with schematics, it's just kind of available. It just kind of works. You can just like type ng generate component, and I don't just get locked into only NX's stuff and not Angular's, right? And right now, the only way to do that again is by doing that like janky workaround with that the NX guys are having to do. We'd love to do it. So once maybe they've solved it already. We haven't talked to them, the core team recently about it. But we were super excited to get custom schematics in Stackblitz because custom components and all that. I think that it really shines. Like that's to me that's almost the best feature of Stackblitz is right-clicking, saying I want this thing that's going to scaffold out all these files and modify my ng module and stuff. Like that's you can't get that anywhere else. That's the feature to me from the Angular CLI. So
that's so cool. I'm excited. You guys are awesome. This was like such a fun show. Okay, so I think we're about to wrap up, but one last question: do you guys have stickers yet? Because I really want to Stackblitz stickers for my Mac.
Okay, we're gonna make them. So the idea is that we're gonna do a Patreon and get some money, and then use that money to make the stickers.
You know what? If you send me your logo, I'll make the stickers.
Yeah,
I got you. Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
But I get the first. Like, I'm gonna put one, and then I'm gonna send you the rest. I'll be like, send me your logo. I'll do it.
All right, sweet. Yeah, we will for sure do that. We're actually thinking of maybe updating the logo a little bit, like maybe a little more material. I don't know. A poll. What do you think of that?
Well, the only thing that I would say is it needs to be. It is kind of unique. I mean, I think it's recognizable. I'm looking at it, and I don't think it's just like another logo. Well, whatever you do, whenever you get it just the way you like it, send it to me.
Okay. All right. That's a deal. That is a deal.
It'll be cool.
Cool.
This has been so much fun. Let me see if there's any final questions. I think we're good. Thank you so much. You guys are so fun. And I just get a big kick out of you guys. And I'm really happy and excited about Stackblitz. And you guys can come back anytime if you have new stuff to show us or if you just want to hang out with us. You're welcome back anytime.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having us. We really appreciate it. Thank you coming on and being able to chat about what we're up to. Feel free to everyone to hit us up on Twitter or email our Discord channel. We love chatting with people who are using it and seeing how we can improve it for everyone.
And real quick before you go, because there are a couple more people watching that weren't here when we first started, where can we find you? Well, you're doing stand-up comedy this Sunday. But that's not online. You have to be in California, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be like in San Francisco. Hopefully it's not so bad that they end up hearing about it.
I think it'll be awesome. You're gonna rock. And then you submitted a talk for NGConf, so I think your talk's gonna get picked, and I think we'll see you at NGConf. And then anything else you got going on?
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Aren't you on the selection committee? It seems like you could, put your thumb on the scale a little bit if you wanted to.
I was on the selection committee last year, but not this year because this year I submitted talks. But Tara is on the selection committee. and I do know people, but I don't even have to put in a good word for them because Aaron loves you guys. And I think all of the NGConf guys love you. I mean, everybody loves you guys. So yeah.
And then next NG in Medellin. Come down there.
Yeah, Colombia, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Come back soon, and we'll see y'all next time.
Cool. All right, have a good one.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Right. Bye.